Welcome back, everyone, on the journey to transform culture. I'm Steve, and I'll be your guide. Well, it's been a minute since I posted a video, and I kind of wanted to touch base with everyone before we get our work week started. For those who, didn't work on a Sunday, and today is a Sunday. If you happen to be watching this later. But so today I want to get a video in just to kind of touch base on some things. But one of the questions that was floating out there, let's just leave it floating out there, was what prevents teams from being able to unite or come together, right? What is it that prevents teams from uniting? So when you peel the onion of that question back, right, if you go too far into the core, it is fear. Ultimately, so much is driven by fear. But when you come back out from that core just slightly, it's leadership. And not the kind of in the way that you might be thinking that I'm saying. Not the leader is responsible for the team or the overall organization not being able to unite and come together, although that can happen, right? It can be an issue. But no, leadership at the individual level, because if you think about it, it's all of our ability, all of our desire and ability, and I guess you could say inner drive to step up to take accountability and responsibility for a thing that really is the difference between being a leader and not leading. I'll give you an example. So if something unsafe is about to occur and you're 15 feet away and you see something that somebody else doesn't see, and you yell out, "Stop, stop," whatever, you raise the flag, right? You call out and stop. You may have saved somebody's life. You may have prevented a significant accident, whether it could have caused harm to an individual or significant damage, which also could harm people because it could be that they're out of work because of damaged equipment, whatever. So that is a leadership moment. Stepping up to take accountability and responsibility is leadership. And where do you find leadership? You find it everywhere. If you look around, if it's just you're leading your life if you're stepping up to get your education. You're showing leadership if you're stepping up to get your first job, second job, or just to have a job and to be able to take care of yourself. That is a form of leadership. You're taking charge of your course and direction on the seas of life, right? And as you draw that forward, well, what if you've got a dog or a cat? You're also leading them as well as your own life, right? There, it's you one and two, or one, two, and three on the ship of your life. You have a cat, dog, and it's you, and you're on this boat, and you're going across the ocean, whatever, just having fun with that. But you get the idea. Now, you end up having a family, a significant other, you have a family, kids, the whole bit. Well, guess what? You're a leader, and the actions that you take, the responsibility, the subtle things that you're constantly doing all the time, not only safety wise, right, to prevent harm, but also functionally, right? When I was a kid, I couldn't stay up past 9 o'clock for the longest time because my mom knew I needed rest so that I could function like a normal human, right? And that's probably true for all of us when we're kids. And some probably went to bed earlier than that. But that is also a form of protection too, right? There's a level of leadership that has to make that call to go, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. We never understand these things when we're kids, right? But we definitely do as parents or as adults. So that micro scenario there, even if it's just you leading your own life, if you are making the decision to do good things that bring about outcome. And I would say that leadership, the defining quality of leadership at the micro to the macro. So if you're a leader of an organization, or if you're anybody in between, or if you're just a person starting out in life and it's your first job, making the decision, right, to do the right thing, to do the safe thing, to do the healthy thing, to do the positive thing, to show compassion, to show empathy, to show love, contrition, all these good behaviors, that is a form of leadership. Even if it's just you and you don't have, your dog, your cat, or into the other marching band with you, right? If you're doing that, you're making a leadership decision, and people are making these decisions all the time. And we don't as individuals, give ourselves enough credit. And I don't mean we have to stand around going, well, I'm a leader too. Yes, yes, we know that. And we're not saying that. But what we are talking about is understanding that you don't get to be a leader at any level beyond starting out in life until you've started out to take ownership, accountability, and responsibility and to act with, good intentions for good outcomes. And to come back to what I was going to say is it's the outcome, I believe, that is the decisive, observable thing from leadership. Whether it's good leadership or poor leadership or no leadership at all would be a better way to say poor leadership. If the outcome was nominally not going to change, but you stepped in and you did something, you helped somebody potentially save their life, all these different, emergency things. We have, medical folks, firefighters, all of that, military out there who are doing these things on a regular basis. They're taking leadership constantly, moment to moment, and the outcome is always the domino of, protecting people. So that is leadership. And you don't have to be the number one in charge of that organization to demonstrate leadership capabilities, the desire to lead, to be accountable, to make a difference. To make a difference is a significant emotive force within us. If you want to make a difference, if you are a person who saves animals, cats, dogs, horses, you name it, animals of all types. If you're a person whose endeavors are to do good that way, then you are showing leadership in that area. If you're doing it in the medical community, same way. And, I can go around all these different professions and do the same thing. Sanitation, right? It's leadership to be able to take that responsibility sometimes that nobody else, thinks to take on. And what does it do? It's a promotion of health, right? It also removes, garbage and so forth and waste, but it's also a promoter of health. And why is that? Because, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions in the past in history died because of filth in Europe, right? Back, hundreds of years ago, whatever, a couple hundred years ago or more. And so these are the sort of leadership, activities that we're taking on all the time. So where nothing would have otherwise made a difference or changed, leadership steps in, takes accountability and responsibility, and turns the tide to be a more favorable one. And then this is the follow-on to that, more favorable for who? Not for the person making the decision, although it can, but for everyone. It should be a benefit to everyone. So if I step in and stop an accident from happening in a work site, not only have I saved that person's life, but think of the hearts and minds and souls of their loved ones, right? And then the people that know them in the community. You're helping and you're healing all of that. And a lot of times they don't even know. It's kind of the unspoken heroic act. It does lie embedded in leadership. So you are super powerful, even if you're not in charge of an organization. If you are taking accountability and responsibility and making a difference, making something better, making something improve something, preventing something bad from happening, saving something in some way. I remember quite a few years ago, back when, print off things more, although I still print things out, would print off an Outlook calendar for my staff for all 12 months and then say, okay, here's your calendar, whatever, and maybe we'd jot down some key things. But on the back, I would tell them, write down, and I would call them hero points, right? Write down anytime you do something that you wouldn't have never thought, it wasn't necessarily in your job title or job description necessarily, although it could be, but that where you went above and beyond, and by doing that, you kind of had a hero moment where you saved the situation in the gaps. It could have been a customer service related thing. It could be an operational thing. It could be it could be so many things depending on the role that you have. So these these hero points, and I would say keep track of those. And then at the end of the quarter of the year, whatever, we'll look back at those and go, "Wow, look at all the cool stuff you did," and then kind of factor that into your contributions and everything to the organization. Because a lot of times people are doing these things, they have these hero points going on constantly, but the organization doesn't recognize them because they're not necessarily, they're kind of decisions in the gaps. And what's kind of sad is we lump a lot of that into customer service. Well, we go and we do everything we can for the customer. So therefore it gets lumped into this, well, we have to do it because that's what we're supposed to do. Well, true, we should be taking care of the customer, but not everything is so well defined, and there are some gray areas. So when you step up into those gray areas to kind of keep the ship and the dock, anchored together so that things don't fall apart in your organization, write that down. Keep track of these things because these are notable, and keep track of these. Have your folks keep track of these as well, because then you'll be not mildly, you'll be impressed to see all the things that people in your organization are doing that are bringing uh, that are saving the day, so to speak. And this is leadership. This is the budding, the blossoming of leadership. And everybody in your organization, look, the only people who aren't really leading are those who would just choose to let, just whatever. I don't really care. I'm just kind of doing the minimum. And, I don't mean the minimum, but you're just kind of doing what I have to do. And you don't really care, right? If you don't really care, then it's pretty obvious you're not taking ownership or accountability, because if something breaks or fails or the quality defect, you're like, it's not my problem. It's their machine. If they're not going to keep it up, well, you could communicate to somebody. There's things you could do, but you're not doing it. That happens. This is a real thing in the world, right? Where people just don't care. Don't be that person. Be a person who's showing leadership to step and go, hey, no, this, something's wrong here. We need to fix this, because it could be something of that nature. So just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about, what prevents us, from teams from uniting. A lot of times, and to kind of sync this together, is the unwillingness to take leadership, which includes accountability and responsibility at all levels, together in unison, is typically what makes a team drift and not unite. So reverse that trend. How do you reverse it? Take accountability and responsibility. Show more ownership. Care. Your care factor should be very high. If you are a leader, designated as a leader in your organization, your care factor better be phenomenally high. It better be not just heard. And I don't mean, we want to look good. We go to work, we're dressed up, we're professional, we're doing our thing. Nothing wrong with that. But it's more than just about being about looking good and looking the part. It's making the decision that has that greater outcome. Not one, we can make a decision that doesn't have, so there's an element of risk here, because you can make a decision that doesn't have a great outcome. Your intent might have been great, and maybe you failed in that instance. It happens. But a leader will step up and go, you know what, own that, and go, you know what, I made this call. It didn't work out. Take a knee, figure it out, come back at it, and go after it again. That's the other thing, is having the fortitude to continue on even when failure is at hand. So there is no lack of our opportunity to be good leaders, even in failure. Okay. All right, folks. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit. It doesn't matter where you are in an organization. Most, I'll say, identified leaders typically understand all of this. This is not new information, but your team needs to be reminded. This is the broader point. This is actually the main point of the video, is if you don't communicate to your team that they are leaders in constancy in your organization because of how and what they do and the responsibility and accountability that they take on to take care of your customers, and by proxy everybody else in the organization, when they do that, then you're failing. That is a leadership failure if you're not recognizing that and beating that drum. So beat the drum of appreciation, engage with your teams, and show leadership by doing so. And I think what you'll find is that people want to be, uh, you know, outstanding performers, and they want to be great leaders too. And everybody's in a process of being a leader at all levels. And don't forget that. All right, folks, hit that good domino 3 to 5 times a day to uplift, motivate, inspire, and just generally look after one another. And when you do that, not only are we transforming other people's lives, we're transforming our own life. And by proxy, we're protecting love, which helps to transform culture. And that's a good thing. All right, folks, have a great work week. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.